This week on Motorcycle Experience, our ultimate ride celebrates number 17 and reflects on some lessons learned from the road. Then during this week's Red Adventure, Toni Sharpless considers all the newfangled technology stuffed in a modern motorcycle, while our staff riding instructor Jenn Martin joins in on making it a group effort, and our FZ7 project bike, the 6040, hits the road. All this and more on Motorcycle Experience. Hello and welcome to Motorcycle Experience, the voice of motorcyclists everywhere. I'm Dave Hatch, and this week we're coming to you from Picton, Ontario, where we're setting up for our first annual Motorcycle Experience Film Festival. As for our show this week, we've got the Red Adventure, Shifting Gears, the Ultimate Ride. But before we get to all that, let's check out this week's road test of the new Suzuki VanVan. You know, each week during this segment, we take the opportunity to consider a number of brand new motorcycle models that have been brought into Canada from any number of motorcycle manufacturers. For the most part, they're all stuffed to the gills with the very latest in engine technology, the newest in suspension bits, and they come with monster brakes and ABS. Then there's this baby, the Suzuki VanVan, a new-to-us motorcycle that's actually been around for some 40-odd years. Engine-wise, you get a simple air-cooled single-cylinder 200 with a 5-speed transmission. Engine technology? Well, it's got electric start, and back in the 80s they did add fuel injection. Suspension? Well, who needs an inverted fork? I mean, look at those fat tires and that seat. What about the brakes? Well, it does have a single disc up front. Out back, I think that's a drum. So what does it have, you ask? Well, it's funky for one thing. I mean, look at it, it's très cool. It's been around for 40 years, so it's simple as a hammer and it's sure to be reliable. Plus, it's super easy to ride. But you don't have to take my word for it. Here's Rhonda Nemeth. She hasn't ridden a motorcycle in over 18 years. So Rhonda, I really appreciate you coming out and doing this today because I thought it would be fun that we throw you back on this as your sort of welcome back to the sport of motorcycling. And how was that?
I think throwback is the right word.
Yeah, well, this certainly is.
Thrown back to in time, getting on a bike, and the bike itself, I think, is a bit of a throwback.
Sure.
In a funky way.
It's 1972 all over again. Mm-hmm. Now, when was the last time you saw a saddle like this? It's huge.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I played around with today was like moving forward, moving back, because it was comfortable no matter where I sat.
Yeah.
It just changes your knee angle a bit, but it was really super comfortable, yeah.
So let's talk about it. It's a 200cc air-cooled motor. We weren't expecting a lot of performance. So what did you think? You put it in a gear and off you went. What did you think?
No, it was I think it was the perfect bike to instill some confidence in me because I thought it was going to be okay, but then when I actually got here, I thought, oh geez, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But I felt a little wobbly, but as the day went on, I felt more and more stable on it. It instilled confidence in me. A lot of shifting, but really low power, so it never got away on me. I never felt like, oh my God, I'm going too fast. Mm-hmm. Yeah, always very, very much in control.
How did you find the gear shift, the clutch lever, thinking in terms of an entry-level rider, what did you think?
Yeah, really easy to use, really straightforward, nothing tricky about it. The clutch I found stiff, but that's probably because I was just doing so much shifting today.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to it.
How was it for you in terms of vibration?
I didn't notice it. Maybe I was just too nervous to notice any of it, but I really didn't notice anything.
What about brakes? It's a simple braking setup. We've got just a single disc up front. Mm-hmm. Did you have enough feedback from the brakes, enough sensitivity?
Yeah, they were really comfortable. They didn't grab like I wasn't, and they didn't underperform either. Like they behaved the way I think I would have predicted. Really comfortable.
What about just the overall riding position for you?
Really comfortable.
Yeah?
Yeah, super comfortable. Yeah, I'm like my hands, they're wide on here, but even that felt good to me. Like it felt nice and stable. Maybe that sort of goes with how wide the tires are. Everything just is nice and balanced and spread out, but I felt super comfortable on it. And like I was saying, I would change like my seat position a little bit, because the whole seat is comfortable.
Yeah.
So I was just playing around with that, and the knee angle and the ankle angle with shifting, and so you've got a lot of room to position.
Who are we going to recommend this to? Who would you suggest consider buying one of these?
Yeah, I'd say a city dweller who might sometimes also want to go out into the countryside, go to the cottage. Yeah, I'd say it's perfect for a city dweller.
I mean, this thing is a hammer. It's so simple in terms of motorcycles.
And maybe that's why I like it so much. I mean, any bike I ever had was fairly simple.
Right.
And, the last bike I owned was built in 1982. So, you know, and the other ones were pretty basic dirt bikes. So maybe that's part of what appeals to me, is the simplicity of it.
So are you back? Have we managed to convince you to get back into the sport?
Yeah, I think so.
Or at least start thinking about it?
I think so. I'm definitely thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that I was before today. So yeah, quite possibly.
Well, you've got the jacket.
I know.
Great job, Rhonda.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming out today.
Thanks.
Hang in there, we've got plenty more experience still ahead. Next, Toni Sharpless takes a closer look at what's under the tank, while Norm Wells and I take a look back on 17 fantastic rides. Stay with us. Portions of this broadcast are brought to you in part by Honda Canada, Suzuki Canada, and BMW Motorrad. Welcome back to Motorcycle Experience. I'm Dave Hatches. Our coverage continues here in Picton, Ontario, in our first annual Motorcycle Experience Film Festival. It's time now for this week's installment in the Ultimate Ride. And today, Norm and I are discussing number 18. Okay, so Norm Wells of BMW Motorrad and myself pack up our motorcycles each fall and set off to explore a new destination somewhere here in Canada, or occasionally south of the border. There's been trips here out to both sides of the country, and certainly a variety of rides have taken us to the beautiful regions that make up the in-between. South of the border, we've sampled roads that are reported to be some of the best in North America. The Blue Ridge, the Dragon's Tail, the Grand Canyon, the Badlands, not to mention Lake Elsinore and the Valley of Fire. Meanwhile, back here in Canada, we've explored the islands, Vancouver, PEI, Newfoundland, and this year we embarked on a Canada 150-inspired trip as we headed northeast from BMW Motorrad's headquarters in Richmond Hill, Ontario, riding the long way round via the Ottawa Valley to Manitoulin Island. All in all, Norm and I have enjoyed 17 fantastic trips. History, scenery, great people, good food, tall tales, all from the saddle of a motorcycle. Which leaves me this week pondering two questions. What have we learned thus far from all of these road trips? And where are we going this fall? So Norm, here we are in Picton, Ontario. We're getting set to go into the Motorcycle Movie Festival, and I thought I'd grab you just for a second and recap our 17th Ultimate Ride, because looking back on this season, I'm just amazed at how much Canadiana we jammed into a 3-day ride. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was very cool actually. You know, we got to hit a lot of important places, high and low. You know,
Yeah.
Very important places. Like we started with Bob Cajun, obviously, and then we made our way to Pembroke, and then along the Ottawa River, which was the original passageway for people who first came to Canada. So hit the nuclear reactor, hit the Big Nickel, you know, the gateway to the north in North Bay. So yeah, a lot of very interesting places.
So that was our 17th ultimate ride. I can't believe we've done that many of these rides. Real sort of buddy cop kind of riding experience. What's the takeaway after 17 years of this? What do you think is the number one thing you've learned from these trips?
I think adaptability is the one thing I've learned after all these years is, you know, we've had to make a lot of changes along the way, and I think as you're planning your trip 6 months out, things will change, so you have to have like a backup plan. What would I do if?
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing I took away.
What about, what has been your favorite ultimate ride? I mean, we've done 17, we've been all across Canada, and we've done some pretty good ones down in the States. What was your favorite?
You know, that's a tough question. I think because we choose such unique and cool places to go riding, it's very difficult to pinpoint one and say that was my favorite of all those rides, because each one was just brought something special back.
Right.
I have to say that Vancouver Island, I loved it there with the big trees and the coast, and you know, just that whole BC West Coast on the ocean. I really enjoyed that.
Right.
You?
I would have to say Newfoundland.
The opposite.
The opposite coast. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I mean, I just never imagined I would get out to the Rock. The hospitality, the scenery was spectacular. That day, those guys invited us onto their boat and fed us because we were starving, and they just caught the fish. That I will never forget that. And the hospitality there was amazing. And I guess, you know, having to get the opportunity to kiss a cod. Okay, you don't forget that either.
No.
So I guess that brings us to our annual, where are we going this year? Where are we going to go this year? Because I mean, we've pretty much maxed out Canada.
Yeah, definitely Canada. We've done a lot in Canada. I don't think you can ever max out Canada, but we've done a lot in Canada. We've done some in the U.S. We've been invited down to Mexico by a touring company to come and experience their tour and experience Mexico.
Yeah.
So I think that could be on the plate for this fall.
Yeah. Mexico. I like it. I'm going to hold you to that. We're not going to wind up in Huntsville. Okay, thanks for 17 great ones.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mexico sounds pretty cool. And as we get planning that next adventure, let's pause for a moment with professional road racer Toni Sharpless and take a closer look at what's new when it comes to motorcycle technology.
You know, Toni, I was just telling you about how I installed a security camera at the office, and now I can sit here and watch what's going on in the office in terms of security. It's amazing what is happening with technology. It just seems like every day there's something new. It's just, everything is changing, including motorcycles.
Yes, I read recently that Honda's come out with a motorcycle that's self-balancing. So they have it on where the front wheel is turning to keep the person on the bike, upright on the bike. I mean, we do games where we sit on a bike and you try to keep it upright by doing the same thing, and now the bike does it on its own. It's just freaky, Dave.
Yeah.
The technology that's coming in, you don't even have to know how to ride a motorcycle anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, to that end, I mean, fortunately, the manufacturers are all doing this in the effort of making us all safer riders and making motorcycling safe for all of us. Mm-hmm. Now we've got ABS brakes, right, and traction control. Any thoughts on the value of those things?
Well, my first introduction to it was back in the 80s, actually, when I was road racing. They had sensors on our motorcycle, so it could tell where we were braking, where the front end was diving into the corner, and where the acceleration, where the rear end was squatting. And it just blew my mind. It's just unbelievable. And I thought, this is the future. This is how street bikes are going to come. And you know, sure enough, we're here.
Yeah, well, definitely telemetry is coming into the bikes, and we've got the TCSs, and we've got the, you know, switchable engine mapping and switchable suspension on the fly. Are we still riding motorcycles, or are we getting caught up in the technology? I guess that's the question.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I put a recluse clutch on my dirt bike.
Okay.
Which makes it, I don't have to shift gears while I'm riding my dirt bike through the woods.
Yeah.
And it is so fun. It makes it so much easier. You don't have to think, and the bike doesn't stall. Even if you cook it into a corner too much and put too much brake on it, it won't stall.
Yeah.
You just keep riding.
Well, I think what I'm hearing here is that it's just putting more fun into your riding.
Yeah.
And you focus more just on your technique and a little less on what's happening with your hands and the clutch and your feet and all that other stuff. At the end of the day, you do have to be a good rider. You know, you still have to be in the right headspace, and you still have to have proper training. We're going to suggest everybody embrace the technology, but don't forget your skills.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Fun chat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Toni.
Up next, there's nothing better than riding a motorcycle. And taking along a few friends definitely takes it up a notch. Plus, we'll catch up with the 6040 as it hits the show circuit. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Motorcycle Experience. I'm Dave Hatch as our coverage continues here in downtown Picton, Ontario at the Regent Theatre, where we're setting up for our Motorcycle Film Festival. Anyway, it's time now to look in on the progress of our 6040 project bike. Today, we're visiting the show circuit.
All this season, Rob Chappell over at Originator Custom Motorcycles has been working on our FZ7 project bike, dubbed the 6040. Yep, in just a month and a half, he's taken a naked street-fighting Yamaha FZ7 and turned it into a custom one-off retro street scrambler. The transformation has been stunning, and managing the whole project from behind the scenes has been Matt Fillion, the marketing guy over at Yamaha Motor Canada. You see, at the end of the day, the 6040 was all Matt's idea. He asked Rob to build the 6040 so that he would have something ultra cool to show to Yamaha fans during the National Winter Motorcycle Show Circuit. And I have to say, together they pulled it off in spectacular form.
So Matt, here we are through the magic of television, fast forwarding 3 months down the road at the Toronto Motorcycle Show, and we're standing next to your baby, really. This was your idea, this project, the 6040. It looks fantastic. What was the game plan?
Basically, I went to Rob at Originator Custom Cycles, and I said I want to use this platform and I wanted to have a little bit of an off-road feel. I gave him some strict guidelines. You can't modify the frame. It needs to be safe and saleable later. But basically, you can do whatever you want. Don't cut the frame, and I want off-road.
Right, and there's a little bit of performance too, right? We threw this on the dyno. It sounds good.
Absolutely. Hindle built us a great pipe, and to go with that onto the when testing on the dyno, we put the dyno jet computer. But overall, the most impressive thing to me is I weighed it afterwards, and it was 23 pounds lighter than a stock S07. And to begin with, that's a light bike.
Yeah.
So you take the performance of the pipe and the computer, we'll do a little airbox tweak, and that less weight, this thing's going to be so much fun to ride.
Yeah. The bike has been basically all across Canada. What has the response been at the consumer show level?
The majority of the response has been very positive. It's done what it's supposed to do, which is grab people's attention.
Yeah.
A lot of customers are asking, is this the next Yamaha coming out? Is it a custom, is it one-off? How do I do this to my F07? So it's accomplished what we hoped it would do.
Right. So you've been able to get some real buzz in the booth?
Yes, so we have a new booth. We wanted something to put in there that's a little different than other manufacturers that might not be in the show, that would draw some attention, maybe some social media following, and it's definitely done that. The three things that we wanted to do with it is, again, we wanted something unique at the show. We wanted to show what this platform could do, the varieties that could be used for it, and just to show some Canadian talent, and as Rob as the builder has done.
Do you think you might try to do something like this again down the road?
I would love to, and I think it depends on the bike and maybe marrying it with the builder correctly, and just getting what's maybe needed in the market and what's missing, and something unique again. Like this, it's not exactly what you see out there for a typical custom. It's a little bit different, and I think that's what's needed. It's a little bit push the envelope, a little different.
Well, it's been a blast over the last 12 weeks watching it to come together, and it's just nice to come down to the show and see it finally on display. Well done, you should be proud.
I'm very proud, and again, thanks to Rob for doing the build and agreeing to do it, and thanks to you guys for covering the build process.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, now that we've got you just about ready to punch the starter button, a solo ride is fun, but taking along a few friends definitely takes it up a notch. Stay with us. Portions of this broadcast are brought to you in part by Honda Canada, Suzuki Canada, and BMW Motorrad. Welcome back to Motorcycle Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and we'll wrap up our show now with Jenn Martin and Shifting Gears. This week, the chief riding instructor at Georgian College wants to discuss a riding situation they don't teach you a whole lot about in the motorcycle classroom. So let's take a look at group riding.
Jen, I love riding motorcycles. I don't want to say how long I've been doing it, but it's been a long time. And I love riding alone. There are moments where I just want to be out on the road by myself. But I also love, and I think the best part of motorcycling is riding with other people.
Yeah, for sure. Just share the experience. I mean, there's so much beauty out there when you go out on a long trip or something like that. But even shorter distances, to go and grab something to eat and see the fall colors or whatever, yeah.
But group riding is not something that should be taken lightly.
Nope, there's certainly challenges that are presented with group riding.
Yeah.
Especially if you're riding with people that you know and people versus people that you don't know as well.
So that all requires a little rider meeting before you start your group ride. You should have a rider meeting. You should designate a leader of that group. And then what are the kind of things you cover when you get ready for a group ride?
Well, a group ride discussion should kind of include perhaps places, rest stops, or if the group gets separated, where should we meet, where the final destination is, and certainly how the group is going to react in certain situations, right? Like I'm going to take the lead and I'll always be in the dominant tire track versus some groups that just ride as a unit.
Right. So you should always, for safety's sake, adopt a staggered riding position.
Yes.
Leave yourselves tons of room between yourselves because you need to leave yourself an out. That's one of those safety factors. When you're passing vehicles, make sure there's room for the whole group to pass.
Yep.
When you're coming up to intersections, stale lights, you're all going to stop as a group.
Yeah, you're not above the law, so you have to obey the traffic signals. So if the four of you get through the stoplight, doesn't mean that the fifth can go through because I'm with the group. You know, you need to obey the traffic laws.
Okay. And then signaling, communication, do you have, I know the old school, you know, pointing at the tank, I have no gas, or I'm hungry, or slow down, I need to talk.
You need to talk. Single file, a lot of people point one finger up, so like if you're in staggered formation, you're coming up to a curve or there's something on the road, they'll point to something on the road. Each group kind of has their own unique signals as well.
Yeah,
so
and plus we've also got now communication systems.
I prefer not because that's why I ride. I don't want to hear anybody in my head, but yeah, that's a good thing.
I guess the most important thing is if you're involved in a group ride, you should ride within your own skill level.
Absolutely, and that makes it enjoyable, right?
Yeah. Don't ride over your head.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, some great advice on a fun aspect of our sport, group riding.
Group riding.
Well, that's it for this week's program, folks. In fact, that's a wrap for this season, but fear not, you can get more motorcycle experience this fall on Saturday, September 23rd at our 4th annual Wings Over the County event at Hillier Creek Estate Winery in Prince Edward County, Ontario. So till then, keep your feet on the pegs and your right hand cranked. Bye for now.